completely disregarding all the women who fought hard and sacrificed so much just to protect the safety and integrity of women. It infuriates me. It infuriates me.
Yesterday in the United Kingdom was one of the most important days for women since the suffragette movement. And there is one television show on broadcast TV that is dedicated specifically to women, females. It actually has the word women in the name. But the sad thing is that Loose Women on Woke ITV, a show that used to be brilliant and used to properly represent working class ladies of our country with brilliant panelists like Carol McGiffin, Jane, and just so many actually. Lisa, there were honestly brilliant people on that panel who have all gone. And on the biggest day for women in modern history yesterday, Loose Women covered, let me show you. Is Denise heading to space? Female space mission, inspiring or inappropriate? Is it an insult to be called bossy? Do we give away too much personal data? Are you hard to buy gifts for? Is there pressure to provide a perfect childhood? What would your dog look like as a human? Benidorm. The Garveys are reunited. Is Benidorm returning? So the brilliant John James, who has been on the right side of this gender critical argument as a gay man for some time, regularly reposted on X by J.K. Rowling, wrote on this, and ironically, obviously it was a man who had to do it, but he posted, UK Supreme Court unanimously ruled that a woman is defined by biological sex and Loose Women didn't cover it. Why Charlene White? Why Denise Welch? Why Janet Street Porter? Why Mariella Frostrop? Instead, they asked, are you hard to buy gifts for? What an insult to women. Now, John's post on X had serious repercussions because it shamed the show. And I tuned into Loose Women today, where Kay Adams, who was hosting, admitted that they had not had this debate. They had not had the biological sex debate previously because it was too toxic. And Denise Welch admitted that she was terrified of cancellation. Now, Alex Phillips, I don't think there's any excuse for Loose Women ignoring this story yesterday. And actually, it's not just about what they did yesterday, although, my God, you have a huge piece of breaking news coming in 3 hours before you go to air. You know what it's like on a TV station. You've got the only show that features an exclusive female panel. You would be rubbing your hands with glee. It's like, this is our moment. We're going to get the ratings. We're going to get people talking. So there's no excuse for that. But I would actually say, Alex Phillips, there is also no excuse for having dodged this subject for the past 2 years because you're so terrified of cancellation. That is the damage the woke mind virus causes, isn't it?
Right, and you know, it isn't just Loose Women, it's all legacy media, basically. It's largely pretty much all politicians as well. It's the public institutions, it's schools, it's social service.
But this is a show for women. And they don't have a trans panelist. You know, like, this is a show for biological women.
How mental is it that it's taken going to the UK Supreme Court to say that men can't go in women's toilets, that men can't compete against women in sports because there's a real threat of permanent injury and death? How mental. We got the vote at the beginning of the last century. We're still battling for equality in many other regards, but we've got access to workplaces and we think we've progressed this far. And all of a sudden in court, we're battling to just have an identity, just to be women and to be safeguarded. I mean, it's sick.
I know. It is sick. It is sick.
What else I find sick? I just want to say this. What else I find sick, right? This was such a serious subject. It was so important to 50% of the population that they can have integrity and dignity and safety and security and an identity and even the most measly form of recognition, which is that you exist. And yet, so many of the political news programs used it like a game. Oh, it was funny. Can a woman have a penis? Can they? And the idiots, spineless, sycophantic, vainglorious, morally just bankrupt politicians without a spine, who all they could see was popularity, just went along.
But even today, Alex, and I can't play you any of it, unfortunately, because ITV don't allow you to. But even today, these women were sitting there, clearly terrified, clearly self-editing everything they say, and all they cared about were the trans people in the country, the 0.5% of trans people. That's all they cared about, or at least that's all they felt they were able to express.
Yeah, but Dan, look at you, right? You know what happens when you go up against these big issues, when you are going to be outspoken, to use the title of your show. What happens? You have to go it alone. It takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage. And if these women
they just don't talk about it. They just don't talk about it. But the thing is, Alex, there was power in having the four of them there yesterday. And, I thought it was shameful. But look, I just want to go through some other big moments of the coverage. Firstly, J.K. Rowling, you've got to admit, so damn cool. She posted, I love it when a plan comes together, hashtag Supreme Courts, hashtag women's rights with this picture, and then said, to those celebrating the fact that I'm smoking a blunt, it's a cigar. Even if it decided to identify as a blunt, for the purposes of this celebration, it would remain objectively, provably, and demonstratively a cigar. So I loved that. Now, Howard Cox, I'm going to bring you in. But as the bloke, I want you to comment on crazy James O'Brien and the crazy mental arithmetics that he played yesterday to somehow make this about the Donald Trump Access Hollywood video from all of those years ago. Watch.
Loads of people who were very supportive, very delighted by today's judgment, who are as disgusted as all decent people are by an awful lot of what else Donald Trump is ushering in. And yet, I don't know how you separate yourself from that, how you make it clear that you wish it was somebody else that had done this thing that you approve of. But as it is, it's the self-confessed sex offender who you're cheering for his attitude towards transgender women. The bloke who really does go around grabbing women by their genitals. He's your man. I don't know. I mean, do you pause and think, how have I ended up on his team? How have I ended up on the same team as the self-confessed sex offender, the guy who boasts about grabbing women by their genitals? The guy that sued a woman who accused him of rape for libel and lost. How'd I end up on his team?
Howard, I guess that's got to be proof that the left have lost their mind over this issue.
Well, they have lost their mind. Isn't that defamatory? Shouldn't he be in solitary confinement for that? I mean, I cannot believe how he gets away with that, man. I refused to go and be interviewed on him because every time I talk to him about everything, because as you know, I look after a thing called fossil fuels in cars, etc. That I've been campaigning for 15 years on that. And he really attacks me on my position in terms of climate change denial. You know, I'm one of those. But yesterday's victory in the Supreme Court was historic. It was absolutely fantastic. And I was so proud of those women who've gone through this process and they've gone out of their way to sort this out. And you get people like that and the loose women, 4 very powerful women in terms of media and on the television, etc., completely ignoring it. I'm not really a frequenter of watching loose women, I'm afraid. But, you know, what it amazes me, they had the opportunity to stand up. And I follow J.K. Rowling. I think she's incredible. I also follow people like Sharon Davis. You know, I think also she's one of the people. And I also follow a certain person called Alex Phillips when she talks about this. I regularly retweet when she talks about this. And she talks so much sense. But the fact is, we've got a lot of idiots out there in the mainstream media, and most of them are left of centre.
Well, of course, because I also want to show you Sly News. I mean, actually, I showed you on yesterday's show the initial reaction on Sly News to the Supreme Court ruling, which was just sickening, and you can go back and watch that. But it continued. It continued into the night, where their hosts were just clearly despondent about this decision. It didn't matter if they were female or male. So this was Anna Bottin on the press preview. But first, we ingest a credit card's worth of microplastics every week. Tiny particles in our food, water, and air. They don't just pass through it, they build up in our organs, disrupt hormones, and are linked to fertility issues, neurological disorders, and heart disease. In early 2024, human brain samples contained 0.5% plastic by weight, with higher levels tied to Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases. Microplastics have also been found in semen and placentas, correlating with lower sperm quality, fetal exposure, and declining fertility. BPA and phthalates mimic or disrupt hormones like estrogen and testosterone, leading to reduced sperm counts, irregular cycles, and development issues in children. With microplastics in bottled water, food, and even household dust, avoiding exposure is impossible. But you can support your body's ability to fight back. Moringa activates the NRFT pathway, your body's detox switch, helping flush out microplastic-associated toxins like BPA, BPS, and phthalates. This pathway boosts detox enzymes, making harmful chemicals and water soluble for easier excretion. Now, not all moringa is created equal. You know that many supplements use lower quality sources, root, bark, or contaminated powders, lacking the full spectrum of benefits. Plus, moringa naturally tastes bitter, and to be honest, it's pretty gross, which is what led me to Morning Bean by Verso, a rich, chocolatey coffee alternative packed with moringa, cocoa, polyphenols, and electrolytes to help detox, fuel energy, performance, focus, and longevity. And look, you know, I love this. I've been actually drinking it all day to try and deal with this hay fever. And it's honestly amazing. I'm not joking. It tastes like a McDonald's hot chocolate. It's that type of taste. I love a McDonald's hot chocolate. And I don't actually know how they mask the bitter notes of moringa, but it doesn't bother me because it just tastes so good. Plus, Verso only uses pure moringa leaf, the most nutrient-dense part of the plant, and conducts third-party testing on every batch to ensure potency, purity, and safety. You can't avoid microplastics, but you can support your body's detox process. Start your day with Morning Bean for research-backed detox, energy, and health. Click on the link below or visit buy.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code outspoken for 15% off. That's buy.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code for a 15% discount. But now, back to the show.
10, and the judges have ruled definitively in this instance that the terms woman and sex refer to biology, not gender.
And the question is, what does that mean? Some very stark headlines, has to be said, in both the Metro and the Telegraph. You know, trans women are not women. And, you know, this is deeply disappointing for the trans community who have fought so hard to get rights that they deem as suitable for how they feel as people.
And there was exactly that same sort of approach during an interview with Maya Forstater, who's been a hero on this. Watch.
It doesn't matter what sex you are, but in places where it does, you need to be clear.
Yeah, so but let me just push on that a little bit, because then you could have some trans women who then feel excluded from the space that they think they should be in that particular instance.
But they're men. I mean, they might feel excluded, but the fact is that's a space for women. And somebody who's a man who wishes he was a woman is not a woman. And I'm sorry if he feels excluded, but we need to have clear rules in order to protect the people who those services are intended for. And that doesn't mean treating people badly or not treating them at all. Men who identify as transgender, who call themselves trans women, may be a vulnerable subset of men, but they don't share an experience with women because they're not women.
And I mean, Alex, it's just astonishing to me that you have these amazing women like Maya Forstater, and I mean, gosh, she's someone who lost so much just for stating a biological reality, and yet she's still trying to have to explain to these presenters also on Sly News.
I've got to go back to the James O'Brien thing, because the one thing
Please, no, you go there.
The one thing that stood out to me is it's been the hard work and the bravery of Maya Forstater, of Helen Joyce, of the women behind Sex Matters, of people like Kelly J. Keane, who has been attacked in the streets of the women who have been called TERFs, demonized, cancelled, physically threatened with rape online. It's the hard work of those women who got that court case, not a bloody man in America. Misogyny alarm any? If anybody's the big bleeding misogynist in this debate, it's James O'Brien for wanting to blame all of this on a man, completely disregarding all the women who fought hard and sacrificed so much just to protect the safety and integrity of women. It infuriates me. It infuriates me. This is what we battle all the time. I don't want to become a Me Too movement. It's not like that. But it is a fact of life, right? When you go out to bat as a woman, if you want to stick your head above the parapet and fight for what you believe in, you have a bloody hard time. You get the sort of crap thrown at you that I don't think men do. You get accused of having affairs. You get accused of sleeping around. You get accused of being toxic, dangerous, a witch. You know, it's the way that women are treated in the public space is absolutely reprehensible. And when they have to fight for the protection of women, and when they do, James O'Brien can't even say the name of them. Instead, he says Donald Trump.
Yeah. Totally.
Demonstrates the point.
Totally demonstrates the point. Goodness me. I did just want to play a moment from Nigel Farage earlier today, because this is where Nigel Farage is so good. He's so good. And I know some people say I've been harsh on Nigel Farage over the past few weeks. Certainly I don't, like the Rupert Lowe situation. But on the campaign trail, when he's dealing with these sorts of issues in a completely accessible and funny way, I think it's when you see Nigel Farage at his best. Watch.
I think we reached peak lunacy, didn't we?
Yes.
We reached peak lunacy in Scotland, where a violent double rapist put on a blonde wig, was rebranded as Isla Bryson, and then was sent to a women's prison. And I think that was peak lunacy. And I think the Supreme Court judgment shows you that actually the pendulum of common sense has come back to where it needs to be. And it was very interesting. I heard Sebastian Coe on the radio this morning saying, hooray. Because frankly, for any human being that's been through male puberty to be contesting against adult women in sport. I mean, there was the case Leah Thomas in America. I mean, 6'3", with a lunchbox that would have made Linford Christie jealous. I mean,
you can't take him anywhere.
But I mean, the whole thing was ridiculous. So look, there are those in society who feel they're born in the wrong bodies, and you know what? We'll be respectful of them. We won't be discriminatory against them. We'll understand who they are. There's no problem with that. But I think the extent to which this was being abused and women were just not feeling safe in their own spaces, it's a judgment for common sense.
I mean, Howard Cox, he's just got that spot on, hasn't he? Just that his whole approach to this issue is exactly what you want from a politician.
Actually, there's no hesitation in that whatsoever. The way he actually delivered that was beautiful. And I as I say, I've got huge admiration for where he gets hold of an issue and actually delivers not necessarily a solution, but a rational reasoning behind it. And I've got huge respect for that. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. But this whole issue, regarding pushing it onto Donald Trump, I mean, we're going to get more and more of this. And, it'd be interesting in the free speech thing that JD Vance is actually saying that we might reduce your tariffs from 10% to 5% if you make sure freedom of speech is rekindled in this country. True freedom of speech. That's what we're hearing. I'm hoping that's true. But obviously that shouldn't be really a bargaining chip, should it?
No, it really shouldn't. Howard Cox, Alex Phillips, do stand by, because we've got this extraordinary story, and this is where woke really starts to eat itself, of Peter Andre being cancelled because he's played a Jamaican in a new movie. I promise you want to see this. He is faking it. He is faking it, and it's caused all sorts of outrage. So do not go anywhere, because I promise you, I promise you, it will be the funniest thing you have seen all day long.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.